Okie dokie. Hello there and welcome back to the Music Career Show. So today's guest, he is a fellow Offaly man and he is working towards becoming one of the most prominent performers in the traditional folk music scene worldwide. He's currently lead singer and guitarist for the world-renowned Irish Celtic show, and he's also had stints playing with Derek Warfield and the young Wolfe Tones, as well as working for Disney World in Florida. So this is young Ciarán Cooney. Well, Ciarán, what's the crack?
Not too much now, Barry. All going good down yourself.
Irish, look, you couldn't, sure, how could you be well? What was it that my mate used to say? How could you be well with your arse in two halves, huh? But anyway, listen, Ciarán, for those that don't know you just yet, why don't you introduce yourself and say hello to everyone? Tell them what you do.
Well, my name is Ciarán Cooney and I am a Borough man, proud and true, and I'm 27 years of age and I've been a full-time musician, I think, since I was 16, 17, I think, and I'm been getting away with it up to now, so I'm still doing it.
Getting away with it. I love that. The two Johnnies do say that all the time, that they're getting away with it, and they're always on about, and I get this, and I'm sure you get this as well. Says like, oh, you boys are still getting away with this. I see. Are you? When are you going to get a real job? Do you get that all the time as well?
Well, I get the old one, are you still at the music? I think everyone tends to get that one.
You
Like,
still at the old music? Yeah, yeah. I love it.
I very proudly tell them, yes, I am still at the music, and
Yes.
it is a job, I do pay taxes on all this, and it is a career, and I am proudly still at it. So, and I will continue to stay at it as long as I'm getting away with it.
Well, fair play to you. Good man yourself. So let's talk about that then for a while. So, or for a bit, where did it all start for you? Take us way, way back. When did music start becoming a thing for you? What was your like first instrument and all that?
Well, like, I think so. I don't come from a musical family as such. But um, my dad was kind of heavily involved with the motorcycle club scene in Ireland in the kind of early 80s and stuff. So had a big interest in a lot of American music and kind of blues and bluegrass and American folk and rock and stuff. So my father always had a brilliant taste in music, and I gotta remember growing up in Borough, and my mother and father it was a 3 CD changer Mitsubishi CD player, and it was in the
Classic.
living room underneath the telly.
Yeah.
And there was times when we were growing up, like, we didn't watch the telly, we just sat in the living room listening to CDs that the father had. So,
Brilliant.
I think that was kind of the beginning of it, and then I could always sing. I was always able to sing from a young age, and then going to primary school, you sing all your holy songs for
Uh,
mass in the school and stuff, and I used to get asked to sing songs myself and stuff, so I kind of was like, "Oh, I'm obviously somewhat alright at it."
mm,
I think, I got my first guitar, from my confirmation money in
yeah.
6th grade, and the very, very, very first guitar that I bought was an Argos Les Paul copy, this black Les Paul.
Class.
It was a load of shite, like,
Yeah.
it was one of those things you paid 150 quid and you got a 5-watt amp for it as
Yeah.
well, but
Yeah.
it was shit, but it got me started, so I started kind of playing around on that, trying to learn stuff and getting going, and so I did a bit on that, and then, um, after that, I bought what I consider to be maybe the guitar that really got it started. I remember, and I still have it. I don't have the Les Paul. That Les Paul is long gone.
Yeah.
I think I remember trying to road wear that myself with files from my father's shed and all that. To think it was
Yeah.
cool because I thought I
Yeah.
was a rock star, but it
I've
was
got a
just a
guitar here
dog
that I
shit.
done the exact
Um,
same.
yeah, but then I bought my own money then, maybe like a year later or less. And I still have it in the house in Glasgow. I brought it with me. It was a Brunswick acoustic that I bought in Powell's, the Four Corners down Shop Street in Galway.
Oh yeah, I know it.
And that was an acoustic. So I bought that, and I kind of really started to learn on that because I bought that, and then I went to secondary school. And obviously in secondary school, you can study music as part of your junior leaving cert.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, when I was around other people that played music, then I started to learn more. So I was completely self-taught.
Yeah.
Um, and then when I went to school, then you're playing with other people, and then I just kind of gradually, you know, the the more I was doing in school with school musicals and actually, doing music in music class and playing, you'd have a day a week in music class in school where you just do practicals. So you just sing covers and the teacher would go,
Mm.
right, we're going to do this one and this one, and this song today, right? There's the chords, there's the words, right? You play the guitar. That's where it started to actually like playing and singing and stuff.
Yeah.
But I remember the first pub gig I ever got. And even to go back again before that, I think, oh Jesus, I was young. I remember I'd been playing for maybe a year or two, and I remember my father he had a white
Uh-huh.
transit van, and he came back from work one day, and it was my birthday, and I hadn't gotten a present off my mother and father for my birthday, and being 16, 17 at the time, I was like, oh, they don't
Yeah.
love me anymore. Fuck me. And I remember my father giving me the keys of the van. He says, "You go out to the back of the van. I left something in the back of the van. Will you bring it in for me?"
Yeah.
And they had bought me a set of these JBL speakers.
Oh,
Um,
class.
but they were like by today's terms in kind of PA equipment, they were fucking prehistoric. They were
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
wooden cabinet with the felt on the outside.
Oh, I know them well. I know them well.
It weighed a ton, but I was like, "Oh, this is fucking brilliant." So the boss, mother and father bought me them, and then I managed to source a desk and cables and stands from wherever I could.
Yeah.
And my first gig was, I think it was for my father's work Christmas party, um, in the Swan in Borough, which has since closed. I'm starting to show my age now, where pubs I gigged in that are no longer fucking open.
Yeah. Yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah.
So, I done that gig solo for my dad's work Christmas party, um, in the Swan, and I remember getting paid, €50 to do the gig, and I remember going, "Fuck,
Aye,
that's
that's
cool."
handy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think from then on, I was like, "Oh, I need to start taking this seriously," because, I'm like, I'm getting like when you're 15, 16, like €20 is a lot of money. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
But then like you're getting a brown note then. Like
Yeah.
that was good money. That was like you fucking like 50 quid would last you a week or
Oh,
two
handy.
weeks, when you were
Easy
young.
peasy. Yeah. Yeah.
When you're that age, and you're being bowled and you buy a box of fags could last you a week. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So, getting paid 50 quid to do a little pub gig, I was like, "Oh, that's fucking brilliant." And then I think just from then on, um, I started to love it more, took it more seriously, and then I decided I wanted to, do music in college, and then that's where it started really.
Yeah.
Started
So
at home with listening to music in the living room with my mother and father and my family, and it just kind of gradually progressed as I went through school.
deadly. And then you went to college then to do music. What was that? Was it a music degree? Was it BIM? Was it what was it?
It was BIM, yeah. So I studied, the course was commercial. It was a BA honors degree in commercial and modern music. And
Right.
basically the way it worked was you had 5 streams that you could, so it was a music degree to an extent.
Yeah.
Um, but it kind of qualified you to do fuck all. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like BIM's way of working. The way I looked at it anyway was a networking college. So
Yeah.
like
Yeah. I get you.
it was one of the best decisions I ever made because I wouldn't be at the level I'm at now if I hadn't gone. But
Yeah.
I don't say that based on what I learned to really. I did learn, obviously I learned a lot, but
Yeah.
I benefited more from the connections I made there than I
I
did from
get you
what I learned. Do you know what I mean?
completely.
So I went and so you could do songwriting, vocals, bass, drums, or guitar, and I studied guitar. So I went
Grand.
up and studied guitar. I kind of like, I was like, well, I know how to sing. I don't need to go and learn how to sing.
Yeah.
Um, but I can play the guitar, but I know there's a lot of room for improvement. So I went and studied guitar up there, and I done that I didn't finish the course because I got work.
Right. Grand.
So,
Fair enough. What
but
was the work then that took you away from it?
well, I done. It was a 4-year course, and it was brilliant. I mean, you got the opportunity to gig in, like, they used to run kind of monthly gigs. There was like they used to do 2 gigs. Was it every month or 2 months? There was they do an end of term gig, and then
Yeah.
they used to do these live lyrical gigs. So the live lyrical gigs was it was all original stuff. So
All right,
basically, the
cool.
songwriters would put bands together, and they'd have to audition a track, and they'd have to organize the band. They'd have to have the charts and say, "This is what I want you to play," and you blah 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 blah. You'd go rehearse the track. You'd audition it, and that was done through your exam. So if you played on these tracks, you could be assessed. Your practical assessment for that exam for that time period, you could get assessed on the audition. But the
Cool.
audition then also, if you'd done well enough, you'd get on the gig. But like the
Yeah.
gigs were put on in like the Button Factory, Whelan's, they were put on in really good venues.
Class.
So yeah, it was good. But then like, you're meeting people who like the lecturers were brilliant. I mean, we had so I mean Jimmy Smith was the head of guitar. So he was the head of my department, and Jimmy Smith turned down Tin Lizzy. He was asked to join
Right.
Tin Lizzy, and he
Class.
turned it down. Jimmy's an
Yes.
amazing guitar player. He was in the Bogey Boys, which
Yeah,
would
I
have been
know
a
that.
big band back in the day.
Yeah, I think I know the name all right. I think he might be would he be active enough in Guitarist Ireland or something? Is that where I'd know him from? Is it Smith?
Would be, yeah,
SMY.
right.
SMYTH.
Yeah,
I
that's
know
it.
I know
Yeah.
that I know the name to kind of see it written, so I can only assume that it's in that capacity. But yeah, cool.
But Jimmy was the head of the department. Then like you had Paul Moore. Paul Moore was like the head of theory and bass, and like Paul Moore was Van Morrison's bassist. You know what I mean?
Class.
And played with everyone under the sun. Um, Johnny Boyle was a drummer with the Frames, and everyone else in Ireland at some stage. He was the
Yeah.
head of drums. You had people who, that was the whole ethos of the college. You had working musicians teaching. You know what I mean? Um, and I always kind of felt that the degree was a formality.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of lads that went there didn't finish, or they didn't really need to finish. They just done it because, you know,
Yeah.
they were there to do it. But like what
Yeah,
happened with
exactly.
me was I was there for 2 years, and at the end of I remember I've done my degree, exams at the end of the second year, and I had I got asked, I got an email about going out to Disney World. So what happened there was I had sent emails to kind of different places, and I'd heard about these gigs in different countries, and I was like, I'm young. I said, I want to go out and see a bit of the world and earn a
Yeah.
bit of money doing it. The fact, like, the thing, I was like, if I can go out and go somewhere new and earn money while I'm there, fucking happy days. That's the
Yeah.
dream, right?
Yeah.
So I'd eaten a lot of these different places that I'd kind of heard on the grapevine from people in the college and different playing with other people. And I was obviously doing gigs back at home in Burr at the weekends and kind of around locally.
Yeah.
And I had kind of started to dip my toes into the trad music. I was quite late getting to the trad stuff. Um,
Yeah.
like I only really started playing trad properly kind of at the end of that year in college. So I
Right.
was 1920.
Yeah. Same age as
And I
me. Same age.
started, playing with trad musicians in pubs, and like there was this as a bit of a tangent, but I kind of remember when I was kind of just starting out in the pubs, trad music wasn't cool. There was no trad in
No,
pubs.
I know what you
There
mean.
was no. There's been, in whatever's going on at like there's this renaissance in trad music at the minute.
Yeah.
Like every fucking pub you go into back home, there's someone playing a fiddle or a banjo or an accordion, or there's a session on, and there's
Yeah.
something. Well,
Yeah.
I kind of I can remember that point, like when I was maybe 19, 20, the end of that second year in college, where I started doing a couple of gigs with different trad musicians, and trad was kind of starting to become popular again.
Yeah.
Um, well, I kind of copped that, and I was like, oh well, it's going down well. The trad is going down well in the pub. So when I was gigging at home in Bird the weekends, I was gigging with different trad musicians.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, I suppose, a long story short, I got a reply from the one pub that I thought I would never get a reply
Yeah.
from Raglan Road in Walt Disney World in Florida.
Yeah.
That was kind of that seemed like an untouchable gig. But I got lucky. I put up a couple of videos on YouTube when I was young. One of them was cover of Fairy Tale New York that I did that kind of got done quite well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I sent a link to that in the email, and your man got back to me, and I was driving. I think I was driving home from a gig one night in my little fucking Skoda Fabia.
Yeah.
I can actually remember as clear as day. I was in this little sky blue Skoda Fabia driving back from somewhere, and I had a
Beautiful.
Samsung Galaxy S3 Mini phone. I don't know
Wow.
why I know that, but I can fucking see it. I had it up on the little holder in the dash,
Yeah, yeah.
and this number pops up that I didn't know, and I had a radio that you could receive calls through.
Yeah.
And I answered the phone, and it was the owner of Raglan Road on
Raglan
the
Road.
phone. And
Class.
I thought I was getting the piss taken out of me, but he was like, "No, no." And it was amazing what happened because this was like this call came in like the very start of April, and
Right.
he was, "Look, I love your stuff, blah blah blah
Yeah.
blah. And listen, I need a band, either a solo or a two-piece, to
Uh-huh.
replace a band who are currently here who are leaving at the end of the month."
Right.
And I was like, "Right, okay." And he was like, "And I'd love to have you out."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Right, okay." So, and then obviously he said, "Take a bit of time," and he told us what, the details and what you'd be paid and the arrangements and everything. And I was like, "Fucking brilliant."
Yeah.
I had to think about it, and he said it was for a month initially. Um, so we went and talked about it, and then I never forget how quick it happened. I phoned him back that night. I met up with the. I ended up bringing a guy from Laura, P. Ryan, banjo player, out with me,
Right.
to do it as a two-piece. And I
Uh-huh.
remember I had to ask Pio, was he interested, and he was interested, and we met in Haverty's and Burr to have a pint and chatted over, and we said yeah. So we phoned John back, the guy that owned the pub, and he was like, "Okay, that's perfect. I'll be in touch with you tomorrow, or my guy will be in touch with you tomorrow."
Love it.
To sort out the visas. And we were up in the embassy in Dublin 2 days later doing the interview for the visa, and I think 5 days later the visa was in our passport.
Jesus
It
Christ. And
happened
away you
that
went.
it happened that quick. And away we went for initially a month, and it
Yeah.
was we were there 2 years by the end of it.
Were you there 2 years?
And it was, I think we went out for the month and then came back, and we went back out for like a year and 3/4, a year. Oh, it was over a year and a half.
Class. I've
Yeah.
I, I've I've been in Raglan Road. I know it very, very well. I was actually there when you'll know Arthur O'Connor, Arthur Stones, you'll know him
Oh
from
my
Rule
God.
About.
Yeah.
Arthur was in my class in school, but I was over when his brother Theodore was over with.
He was out
Jesus,
there.
if Theodore's listening now, he'll be fucking cursing my name now for not remembering the name of his band. It's gone. Sorry, Theodore, if you're listening. But I remember because I went in and he copped me straight away. Like I literally walked out on stage, and then the first thing he said was something about, "Oh, there's the Barry Carroll now, fucking can't go anywhere," or something along those lines. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So what was that like then? Because again, like what I got in touch with Raglan Road as well. To go out and play there. Now, for whatever reason, it didn't transpire. I just wasn't as good as you, or I got in at the wrong time. Maybe you got in there before me, you got in at the right time, but I never got there. And like you, I thought it was quite an untouchable gig as well, because it's a production and a half. It's a it's a big spot in the middle of Disney Springs, and Disney Springs itself is a big spot. It's a big gig. So what was that like then?
I'd be lying if I told you it wasn't probably the best crack I've ever had in my life.
Stop.
Yeah, it was. If bear in mind, I was a young chap going out there, and sunshine, and you're drinking, and there's no mommy and daddy around you, and
Yeah.
they give you a car, they give you an apartment, and the apartment complex, you have a pool, you have a gym, which I never fucking used. You have, you're, it's just, you like, you think, see, when you're that naive and young, you're like, I fucking made it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You're like, I don't want to do anything else. You kind of get, I do remember, I can't speak for everyone, but I can remember kind of getting a kind of nearly like an air of cockiness about me, because it was like, oh, I'm fucking living the dream, man.
Yeah.
Drinking the whole time, you think you're all that. And then thankfully I had friends around me tell me to cop the fuck on. But I mean, you do get,
Yeah.
and I think everyone as a musician, you go through all these different phases.
Yeah.
And you start out and you just love it, and you love it, and you love it, and you're doing it, you're practicing all the time. And then you get to a stage and you start making a bit of money doing it, and you're like, and you take it a bit more seriously. And then you get to a point where you think you know it all, but
Yeah.
realistically you're just fucking full of piss and vinegar, and
Yeah.
you need to be taken down a peg or two. And I put my hands up and say, like, there was a period when I was out there where I was definitely like an arrogant little shit who
Yeah.
thought knew it all, and I was the lad. But
Yeah.
you find out very quickly that if you keep at that, you're going to get fucking nowhere. And thankfully, I did.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but it was amazing. I mean, it was hard going. I mean, we were gigging 6 nights a week, and the gigs were long. The
Yeah.
gigs were 4 hours plus.
Yeah.
But we kind of built up a bit of a following. Like, I mean, a lot of the same people coming back to see us, which was unusual because it's a holiday destination. It's rolling trade. It's the people on holidays and they're gone. They're here one day, they're gone the next. We
Yeah.
were getting a lot of locals coming. And like, it's not a fucking cheap place. Like, food and drink that there's
It's a
it's
fortune. Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah.
You know, it is. It's fucking dear. But I mean, we were out there. We just had a ball. I mean, we really did. And then it was by being out there that I met. Obviously, out there was playing all trad, and everyone that was out there, but they were all trad musicians. All the musicians out there were trad musicians.
Yeah.
Like, I had dipped my toe into the trad stuff at the end of my time in college,
Yeah.
but there were no trad musicians on the course. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? Then I went out to Florida, and everyone was playing trad. I really started to cut my teeth with the trad music there, and started learning about trad and learning about trad musicians. And it was there that I became a trad guitarist as opposed to, like, I like, I was when I was back home in Ireland, I was playing 50-50 electric and acoustic guitar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I'm playing 97.5% acoustic. And every now and again, if I'm doing something recording wise, the electric gets taken out. But I
Yeah.
haven't gigged with an electric guitar since I was 20, I'd say.
Yeah.
So you're, 7, 8 years.
Yeah.
But then, so it was actually through being out there, we got asked to go down to that Four Green Fields down in Tampa to do a gig.
I know it well. I played there myself. Great
Yeah,
spot.
so I got asked to go down there through Pio because he knew Damaris. I didn't know who Damaris Woods was.
Right.
And I didn't know anything about the young Wolfe Tones. I didn't know, to be honest with you, I didn't even know that the Wolfe Tones had split up. Do you know what I mean? But it was naivety on my part. This is, as I said, every day was a school day. You were like, with the
Yeah. Yeah.
trad scene, learning more and more. I was getting to know names and different things.
Yeah.
Went down and done a gig or two down there. And Derek and Damaris, I think, came in one night and they heard me and they liked me and I got on great with them.
Yeah.
And then I left Raglan in 2017, I think it was. And I was kind of touring around America, doing gigs and doing the circuit and gigging in Ireland and just doing my own thing.
Yeah.
And then Damaris asked me to do a gig in Kilbeggan with the Young Wolfe Tones when I was back. And I didn't realize at the time that it was actually an audition that I didn't know I was having.
Yeah.
I didn't know that I was going to be asked to join the band. I didn't know that the guy that was there before me was leaving.
Yeah.
So I done the gig and it went down well. And straight after the gig, Damaris asked me if I wanted to join the band.
Handy.
And then I said yes. And that was kind of the next chapter then. It was like, right, you're going to spend a lot of time in America now because they tour America so much.
Yeah.
And that was another beginning, a whole other chapter then after Raglan, but Raglan was, I do owe an awful lot to Raglan Road. I met my now partner and mother of my first child out there.
Right.
Not when I was there. I met her, I was touring with the Young Wolfe Tones and I went down to visit a lad that I used to live with when I was in Florida, and
Yeah,
Jerry, my partner, was a dancer there at the time, and the rest is to say is history. But if I hadn't had a reason to go down and visit down there, I never would have met her. And now we have a 4-month-old together, and that, you know what I mean. So I do owe an awful lot to Mickey Mouse.
So you're gigging away with the Young Wolfe Tones anyway, and you must have done some savage gigs with Derek and the boys then.
We did. I mean, like, we've done some brilliant festivals. Like, I think the highlight was definitely we done Milwaukee. Milwaukee was fantastic. Like, that was an amazing gig. And like, it was, meeting lads in Milwaukee who are, getting to sit down and play tunes and have a sing song with Derry Farrell, who at that stage I was a huge fan of.
Yeah.
Like, that was amazing for me. Do you know what I mean? And now, I mean, when I was recording my EP, I was able to message Derry and go and ask him for a bit of history on one of the songs because he used to do it, and he was able to get information on it and stuff like that. But I mean, you're out there, We Banjo 3 are out there, You've Gaelic Storm, who are huge in America, and
Yeah.
all these big, massive bands. Socks and Frying Pan were out there. The Coronas were out there when we were there, actually. Danny O'Reilly and the boy, like, we were all getting pissed, singing rebel
Savage.
songs in the lobby of the hotel and all that with all the lads. It was fantastic. But I mean, one thing about that whole time, I mean, was like the traveling that we done.
Mm.
Fuck me. Like, I mean, I was young and fit and all that, but I mean, Derek at that time, Derek was in his early to mid 70s,
Mm.
and it didn't take a flunk out of him. He'd get in and drive 4 or 5 hours, not like the rest of us.
Yeah.
And we drove all over America. Flew, you'd fly from Ireland on a Thursday to do a festival that weekend, to fly home on the Monday and stuff like that. It was a lot of traveling. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we done some fantastic. Milwaukee's obviously a big one. Cleveland was another big one where we done the festivals. We done some amazing, cool little pubs, like mad little places like places that I will never see again. These one-off places that
Yeah.
you'll never see again. Sometimes you're quite thankful that you'll never see them again.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Well, there's some of them that you'd go, geez, if like, I'm going to have no reason to be in that part of Kansas to go see that place again. Like, cannot remember for the life of me what the name of it was, but it was an Irish bar somewhere in Kansas, and it was an old bar during the Prohibition, and it was down underground. And when I say
God.
it was like going down a mining shaft. You went down all these yokes. And it was this bunker underground, and it was a gig venue. We played there. It was amazing. One of the coolest gigs I ever done. Cannot remember the name for the life of me, but and then, like, playing the likes of the Golden Age scene in Indianapolis, which like that, the McGinley family have had that for, I think it's like they've been this year, I think it's like their 95th St. Patrick's celebration with the pub.
Class.
And it was a tiny pub.
Yeah.
Tiny pub. And they'd have, we'd do a gig there with 5-piece band and
Yeah.
like this. But, it was part of what you done. It was another gig and people loved it, and it was great.
Crack of fire on.
Well, we done serious traveling. Like, I remember two that always stick out in my mind was we done one. We finished. It was a private house concert in Philadelphia. Got off, packed the van, got into the van, and our next gig. This was a Sunday night, and on the next gig we had was on a Tuesday down in Houston, Texas, which is a 26-hour drive between.
It's about 1,000. It's at least 1,000 miles. I'd say, is it?
Right, it was something crazy, but it was like a day and a half of a drive.
Yeah.
So we drove, I think, 10 hours through the night, or 12 hours, and we stopped in Memphis.
Right.
And we done Graceland and all that. That was amazing. And then it was every bed, sleep for a couple of hours, back in the van to do the next 15 hours, and arrived at the place, straight out of the van, in, set up, sound check, gig.
Jesus.
And then, so we'd done that gig in Houston, and then the next gig on the Wednesday, we drove up to Dallas, which is only like 2.5 hours, but drove up, in, gig finishes, back into the van, straight down to Tampa, which was like another 17-18 hour drive.
Jesus Christ.
And it was fucking mental. Another time we flew, I think it was like a Friday, we were doing a festival up near Stewart Airport up in upstate New York. Norwegian were flying into.
I don't, but I'll take your word for it. Yeah.
Norwegian were doing those cheap transatlantic flights.
Oh, I do. Yes, I have you. Is that why it was so cheap? Because you were out in the middle of fucking nowhere, like?
Yeah, well, it's not. Do you know what? I think it was like, if you got your ticket, your flight ticket with Norwegian, if they flew you Dublin to Stewart and included in the ticket price, the flight price, you got a coach from Stewart down to Manhattan, and it was like a 2.5-3 hour drive.
I suppose that's not.
It's not too bad. To
be fair, you'd live with it. You'd live with it for the price of it.
No, if you were stuck for a few bob, you'd absolutely do it for a cheap holiday to New York. So yeah, it was like a Friday. We flew like at 8 o'clock in the morning from Dublin, landed in Stewart at midday, 1 o'clock. Got a rental car, drove to the festival, which was only like half an hour from the airport. Got on the stage at like 4 o'clock, off the stage at 5. Pretty much back to the airport for like an 8 or 9 o'clock flight back to Dublin.
Fucking hell. That's hard out going. That is hard out going, because like you it's it kind of goes back to what you were saying about kind of getting ahead of yourself, because you're on such a high and you do feel like such an absolute fucking rock star, because
Mm.
when you go and tell those stories, you know what I mean? You don't remember every single second of those 17 hours that you were driving. All you come back with is a story. It's like, oh, should we done a gig down in Houston, and should we fucking then drive nearly half it, nearly an entire day to get to Tampa,
Yeah,
and over this end of the world, Houston and Tampa and fucking Dallas, and you're up in Philadelphia. These all sound like places that are in films, and
yeah.
it sounds far more glamorous than it actually is. And that's why you're getting the head on you, because you feel like an absolute fucking rock star.
Yeah.
You really feel like an absolute rock star, but people don't see the blood, sweat, and tears and the
So
amount of coffee and Red Bull.
people only see when like, and it look, it's, I'd be guilty of it as well. You know, you're not going to put up on Instagram when you were playing in a fucking Irish pub in the middle of nowhere and fuck all people arrive to it.
No,
You're just not going to do that. It's not.
no,
It doesn't look good for your band or. And that's where anything I've ever done.
yeah,
Like, I mean, with doing gigs myself when I was out in the States, doing gigs to no one, you're not going to fucking put up a picture of the bar where there's two cunts not listening to you. You're only going to put up a photo when the place is hopping, or a video
yeah,
when the place is hopping.
yeah,
So the thing with the young Wolfe Tones, like, you do these amazing, amazing gigs,
yeah,
but you knew there was one that was going to humble you. You know,
yeah,
because every band that tours America, these the little filler gigs are really important, and they serve a purpose. They're not they're not there for your ego. They're there to pay a bill. Do you know what
yeah.
I
They're
mean?
there to get you to the next one.
Yeah. So they're going to pay for a car rental, or they're going to pay for a hotel for a week, or do something like that. So you have to do them,
Yeah,
and they
yeah,
do humble you. Like, as I say, you when you go and do the likes of Milwaukee or Dublin, Ohio, or Kansas City Irish Festival, and you've a couple of thousand people in front of you, and
yeah,
it, that moment you get on that big stage, it just makes all the really shitey gigs worth it, because
yeah,
you've earned it. You've earned
yeah.
that right to stand up on that big stage and receive the big applause and people wanting to get your autograph and get photos with you, and you know.
Class.
But in that, as you say, in that moment when people are coming up wanting to talk to you because they think you're a legend, they don't know the shit you
Yeah,
pulled before you got there.
yeah,
You know,
exactly. Yeah,
that's what humbles you. I mean, we joke about it on this tour all the time. Like, myself and one of my best mates here, Danny McGuinness, who plays the accordion in this show. Um, Danny and me gig together in Glasgow all the time.
right?
Like, we'd be sitting and we'll do a 5,000, 7,000 seater venue somewhere in France here, and the place is packed, and we come
Yeah,
off the stage, and then Danny will just go to me and be like, in 2 weeks' time, we're going to be playing in insert Irish bar's name here, and no one's going to give a fuck about us.
yeah. I know, I know, I know. It's hard. It's soul destroying, isn't it?
Well, and see, maybe I'm a bit of a masochist or something, but like, I enjoy the kind of the misery in that. You know what I mean? I kind of like, I just think that's fucking brilliant. That I think we're, as I said, me when I was 19, 20 would have been too cool for any of these shit gigs. I mean,
Exactly. Yeah,
whereas
yeah,
now it's like they're what keep you on the ground, and it's just,
yeah,
i- it's so funny. Like, you just, that's the way it goes. Do you know what I mean? You get these massive big gigs, and they are amazing, and you come off stage and you're fucking full of adrenaline and you're buzzing.
yeah.
But then next week you're going to be playing down the local on the Friday night, and
No one cares. No, couldn't
yeah,
care.
the speakers aren't going to work, and the
Yeah,
fucking your cable's going to, your batteries are running low, and fucking something.
uh,
So your
yeah,
mic stand is falling over, and you just go, fucking, what is it? What about it?
exactly. Yeah. So then, what you finished up with the Wolfe Tones? Then why did you finish up with the Wolfe Tones, or was there just another opportunity, or what happened?
And like, so I had started, so everything kind of crisscrosses and goes back and forth. I had known because, right, when I was gigging in Raglan, obviously there was
Yeah,
Irish dancers out in Raglan as well who performed as part of the whole thing. And it was through meeting all those Irish dancers, I knew that there was these dance tours, that like, there wasn't just Lord of the Dance and Riverdance. There was these
yeah,
other shows that had live bands and stuff. And I was like, oh, I like the sound of that. That sounds cool.
yeah,
So through a couple of the women that were there, they were like, "Oh, well, we do this show and that show," and there was a couple of shows mentioned, and they were like, "Here's the email address of the MD," you know.
Yeah.
Sent a couple of emails, and one of them was to Anthony Davis, who's the musical director of this show, and I'm very lucky that like Davis is that I regard him as one of my best mates now. You know, he's not my boss. Even
Yeah.
though
Yeah.
I refer to him as my boss when he's in my company, and it drives him mental. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
hates it. But he's the boss. He composed all the music in this show. He's arranged all the music in all of the shows. He's El Patron. He's the one that, you know, he's in
Yeah.
charge
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
us. But he's an absolute gentleman. Boy. So I had emailed Anton when I was still in Raglan.
Right.
And he, in fairness to him, he was one of the only ones that actually got back to me.
Yeah.
And he was like, "I love your stuff, blah, blah, blah. I really like it." He says, "I'm nothing for you at the minute." He said, "But if anything comes up, I'll keep you in mind." That was the end of it. Q joining the Young Wolfe Tones.
Yeah.
And I'd done nearly 2 years with them, I think. And I think towards the end of it, I was kind of like, I think I just kind of was done with it. And
Yeah.
there was no, if they rang me in the morning to go and cover a gig for them or dep a gig for them, I would absolutely do it.
Yeah.
Like I'm very grateful for that opportunity. I've done gigs that I probably won't do again because I was with them.
Yeah.
And I actually spoke to Damaris back in when I was in Germany there back in January. I spoke to her on the phone for now. It was
Yeah.
the first time I spoke to her in a good while, but we spoke for nearly an hour on the phone, and there was never anything.
Yeah.
I just kind of got to a stage where it was like, I've done enough of this. I want to do something else now.
Yeah.
I'm still young. I don't want to be doing this for the next, 10, 20 years or whatever it was. I mean, Derek has done it all his life, and fair play to him. And
Yeah. Yeah.
he's a legend, and everyone knows, every Irish person has sang a Wolfe Tone song at some stage in their life. Do you know what I mean?
Lovely. Yeah.
It was a big honor for me, and I'm delighted that I'll forever be able to say that I was in a band with one of the original Wolfe Tones. I think
Yeah. Yeah.
it's cool. But I just kind of reached the kind of point where I was like, I'm kind of done with this now. And basically, I had been looking for something else,
Yeah.
and by chance, I just sent Anthony a follow-up email. This is around a year and a half after the original email.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just happened to email him at the right time, and he was like, provisionally, the guy that's playing guitar and singing now, he's going to be leaving. Are you available for these dates? And I
Yeah.
went, yes. And he was like, send me on your
Uh-huh.
passport. And I was like, right. So then I gave the Young Wolfe Tones like 2 months notice. Said, look, I'm going to do the February March tour with you.
Yeah.
After that, I'm moving on to something else. And that was kind of
Yeah.
it. That was the end of it. And then I joined Irish Celtic then in 2019. And
Great
I've
stuff.
been ever since.
Excellent stuff. And then of course COVID hit and put the kibosh on absolutely fucking everything. But I would imagine before that, so if you were joining them kind of 2019-ish, you must have been like, how far into it did you get before everything went tits up?
So like we would have got a good 2-3 month tour in at the end of 2019. And that was my first tour with them. That was with the original show. So Irish Celtic won Spirit of Ireland. And we done France and Germany and stuff, and it was amazing. And while that was going on, Anton was writing the music for this new show that we're touring now. So like I can remember like, well, Jesus, when when COVID kicked off, like, so we were doing this tour at the end of 2019 for Irish Celtic 1.
Yeah.
And then in like the January we had a rehearsal in Glasgow to this new show was been done, the Path of
Yeah.
Legends we're doing here now. And we the band rehearsed it, and we'd done the music, and we were grand. And then we flew out to France in the February of 2020. We done a week of rehearsals for this new show with the
Yeah.
dancers and with the full tech crew. We were in a venue just outside Paris. We done a full week of rehearsals
Yeah.
for Irish Celtic 3 Path of Legends. Then we flew to Germany to
Yeah.
do a week of Irish Celtic 1, right?
Right. Okay, grand. Yeah. Yeah.
And then we flew back to France to start the Irish Celtic Path of Legends tour.
Yeah.
Right. So we done a fucking week of rehearsals for one show, flew to another country to do the other show, and then
Yeah.
flew back to the other country to do the fucking one we rehearsed for. It was mental.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
This was a brand new show. There was a lot of fucking money pumped into it. Promo, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, we got a week into this brand new tour for Irish Celtic 3, and we were woke up one morning to be told it was was it the Monday morning we woke up, meant to be a day off, and we all had to go down to the lobby. They're like, yeah, everyone's going home tomorrow. Shut everything. The world is shutting down. That was it. So I then went. I was like, fuck, because it was meant like
Yeah.
we were supposed to have something like, it was crazy. I think it was meant to be something like 4 months solid tour. It was
Shit.
like France, Germany. Then we were supposed to go to China.
Oh,
You know what I
fuck.
mean? But obviously that got the kibosh fairly fucking quick. But
100%, yeah.
but anyway, so I was like, this is on the Monday, and I'm like, fuck, like this is it was Paddy's week.
It would have been. I
I
remember it because I remember. I'll never ever ever forget the last Paddies that we did, because I think I had COVID because I was as sick as a fucking dog. I was never as unwell in my entire life, and I was like, it didn't. But for whatever reason, it was before. We were all in that sort. There was like those 3 or 4 days before the whole world shut down. There was that whole, oh, will they, won't they? Do you know what I mean? I didn't have any of the symptoms of COVID. I was just dying. And it didn't even occur to me that I would have COVID. Looking back on it now, I probably 100% did. But
well,
it
see
was so
what happened.
alone.
What
And I
happened
was
with
like,
us?
there's no way I'm missing Paddy's. This could be the last Paddy's I ever fucking get.
Yeah.
There's no way I'm missing it. And yeah, I'll never forget it. And Paddy's was on a Wednesday, and then by the 18th, the
No,
Thursday, the whole
Paddy's
world.
was a Tuesday. And
Was
I
it a
tell you what,
Tuesday?
so we were sent home exactly a week before Paddy's Day because it was the 10th, right?
Okay.
And I remember being like, I was after losing thousands in
Yeah.
work. Just
Yeah.
gone. So
Mm.
I was like, fuck, I need to try it. So I still had a US visa. And I was like, the States, you're always going to earn good money in America Paddy's weekend. You're always going to do it.
Yeah.
Right in Mars. And this is obviously testament to that. There was no bad blood between us. I was able to ring the Mars and go, I need a gig. And she went, yeah, I need a band for Indianapolis. Bang, booked the flight there. And then
Yeah.
I was home from France the Tuesday.
Yeah.
I packed on the Wednesday, and on the Thursday morning, flew to Indianapolis. As I was in the airport the Thursday morning, Donald Trump had announced this travel ban between the EU and America.
Oh,
Well, it was only mainland Europe, the Schengen zone. I was like, oh, Damar's like, no, you're still all right. Ireland and the UK are fine.
yeah.
Long story short, I was supposed to be gigging the Friday, Saturday, Sunday,
Yeah.
off the Monday, and then Paddy's Day was the Tuesday. And I was
Yeah.
supposed to fly home the following Wednesday.
Yeah.
What ended up happening was I got me gig done the Friday. On the Saturday, then I remember the Finns were out. Ciarán and Bowie Finn were out doing the same gig.
Yeah.
I remember running across the road to the Domino's to get Wi-Fi. And everything was fucking going tits up at this stage.
Yeah.
So I remember going to the Mars, I think we're going to have to get out of America. We're not going to get back into Ireland. Because I remember when we were in Ireland checking in at the airport, the young lad behind the counter was like, there's rumours that the airport is going to be closing.
Right.
And we were, fuck's sake. But anyway, that's your fucking, we'll go and see what happens, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, we went. I remember the Saturday night going to bed. Myself and the lads had a couple of pints. Saturday we went to bed, and we got home maybe 2 a.m. and then at 4 a.m. I get my phone goes bing, and it goes, your American Airlines flight on Wednesday the 18th of March has been cancelled. This is on the Saturday, and it already
Saturday. Jesus Christ.
Fuck. So anyway, I remember getting on hold, and then I was on hold for 2 hours, and then the thing just went beep. And I
Gone.
went back up again, and they were like, we can't take any more calls. So I had to I rang a girl who had been a server in Raglan Road, who I'd known since by being friends on Facebook. She was now an air hostess with American Airlines.
I remember this. Did you post this on Facebook?
I did,
That
yeah.
I remember this. Yeah, go on.
So I rang her, and I was like, I'm in a fucking serious spot of bother here. I need to get back to Ireland.
Yeah.
Right. And she was like, I remember her saying, she's like, I'm on my way to the airport. She was up in Detroit or something, right? She's like, I'm just in an Uber right now, and I'm gonna I'll phone you when I'm at the desk.
Yeah.
Longest 5 minutes of my life. Anyway, she rings me back, and she goes, can you do your exact same flight this morning? So I was just flying on the Wednesday. The same flight was Indianapolis, Philly, Dublin.
Yeah.
Can you do the exact same flight? But this morning, this is like 7 a.m. And she's like, the flight was at 11. I was like, yeah, I get in an Uber right now.
Yeah.
Give me your parachute, she'd ba-bum, and done it like that. And
Back you are.
I had been looking at buying a one-way flight. It was gonna cost me 1,200 quid
Jesus.
because it
Which is
was
the last thing you need after losing pretty much your entire year's
yeah.
work.
So,
Yeah.
she in fairness, she got me on the flight, and I remember she said, "The flight from Indianapolis to Philly is really quiet. You'll have your own row, and the flight from Philly to Dublin is really quiet as well. Yeah, there's like 80 free seats." I went, "Brilliant." By the
Aye.
time I got to the first flight was quiet, by the time I got to Philly, there was 120 people on the waiting list to get on the plane.
Oh,
So they filled the 80, and then there was another 120 trying to chance their arm to get on the flight.
fucking
And, like,
hell.
there was
Yeah.
everyone there was no masks that time because it was no one knew what the fuck was going on. And there
Yeah.
was young ones, I'll never forget, there was a young one sitting behind me, she goes, everyone was kinda telling each other their stories and what was going on, and this young
Yeah.
one was like, "I'm out in college in UCLA, and my dad just rang me and said, 'Just come home.'" And she's like, "We still have to pay rent on this apartment. I've left all of my stuff in that apartment."
Oh,
I still don't
no.
know what that girl did, but that was the last thing. She literally just packed a bag and got on a plane and left most of her stuff in LA.
Jesus. Yeah, there was some you were very, very fortunate. There was a guy that worked with no, he didn't work with my dad. A mate of my dad's he moved to Australia about 15 years ago, and he came home for whatever reason for the first time in God knows how long, and he got stuck. So his whole family were away over in Australia. They're from Edenderry. His whole family were over in Australia, and he was stuck in Edenderry for, well, I put it this way, I was at home and I saw him for the first time in 15 years. I was home Christmas of 21 and I saw him for a pint. While I was out, I just saw him in the pub, and he'd been there for that stage, and he hadn't been back to Australia since. So he was there for at least a year and a half.
Yeah.
Couldn't get back, couldn't get back to Australia. So you were very lucky. So how did you fill your time then? How did you manage to get by?
I suppose I done what everyone else did. I started fucking running 5K.
5K, yeah, I did that
Yeah,
as well.
I done that, and like I remember, like the guy who used to do pipes on this show, Conor McDonough,
Uh,
was a serious guy, serious into his fitness. Like he'd go out and run every morning. Like this guy would do triathlons every. He's fucking fit as a fiddle, right?
yeah,
And I remember he used to always say to me, I was like, I'd love to, because I was I'm a lazy fucker, right? And I was like, I'd love to do something, you know. He's like,
uh,
"Lad, running." He says, "Best thing, clear your head." He's like, "Just do it." And I'd done it during lockdown, and I'd done the 5K. I was doing good times and all that. And he was like,
yeah.
"You do the 5K, then you'll want to do 10, and then you'll want to do that." And then I remember getting up to like 10K, and I remember being like, I still fucking hate this. I still really don't like running, right? So
Yeah,
maybe it's just not for me. So but I did do that during the lockdowns and that. I done a good few Facebook lives. They were kind of
yeah,
lifesaver. Like
for all of us.
for everyone. We all
Yeah.
done them. But I mean, people were good. I mean, people would send tips and all that.
Mm.
And then that was a good one. But then I recorded my debut EP during that time as well. So I basically built a studio in the house, a home studio, and learned how to use. I'd never used an audio interface in my life.
All right.
I'd had a good laptop and all that, but I'd never done any home recording or that. But I
Uh,
was like going full hog, and I bought the best that I could at the time. Got the good mics and built sound isolation boards and all that, and acoustic treatment boards. Done it right, and then
yeah,
recorded my debut EP, which I brought out in I think it was May of 2021. And that killed a good lot of time. That killed a couple of months because because I had to learn how to do it.
yeah, yeah.
And done, got the recorder, got a friend of mine, Pablo Lafuente, to mix it. And a guy named Chris Waite mastered it. And then so we done all the recording in house, then sent it all off, got mixed and mastered. But all the actual capturing of the audio was done in my house in Glasgow. And
Brilliant.
it came out, it worked, turned out really well. And
Yeah.
that was brilliant. And as I said, that killed that time. So I did look, to be honest with you, when COVID hit first, I think like a lot of musicians, you asked a lot of musicians who were busy, we were fucking delighted.
In one way, yeah, in one way,
See
because
for the first 6 to 8 weeks,
it was bliss, wasn't it?
it was fucking brilliant.
Yeah,
You didn't have to do fuck all. There
yeah,
you weren't going just if I because I was gigging, I was at my busiest with the exception of now, like back then, like that was when I was starting to get
yeah,
really busy with work. And I was
yeah,
gigging constantly and recording. I was doing so much stuff, for my own stuff and with other people. I was gigging a lot, and I was getting really busy.
yeah.
Um, But as I said, it was a nice that first month or 2 was fucking quite nice, but then after that, it was like, "Oh, I need to go do something now."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I remember because when I gigged in Slough, and then toured America and stuff like that myself, my voice never fully, it was now it got to about 90%, I'd say, but I never fully got back completely healed, I suppose, for lack of a better term. And those, like you said, those first 5-6 weeks, it was grand because you can just like you all of a sudden you've got a whole other 3 days to your week. Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean? You've got all this time. You've got like, oh Jesus Christ, sure I can watch Saturday Night Takeaway live. Like
yeah,
I don't have to watch it on the Sunday morning, absolutely hanging out my arse. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
Things like that. And there was such a novelty for a while, like you say. And then it started getting a bit much. It started getting kind of when you really had to kind of when you had to start queuing up outside of Tesco. And then you had to kind of start budgeting because you'd only made X amount in your live stream, or you were only getting X amount from some of the grants and some of the benefits that we were allowed to get
Mm,
as self-employed musicians. And there was different opportunities and stuff like that. And you kind of spent your days searching for all these things to keep yourself ticking over. And it was disheartening because you'd only get so far,
yeah.
or you weren't eligible for this grant because you've already gotten that grant, or you're not eligible for these government payments because of XYZ and all this. And you're kind of just like, it does get a bit much. And then after that, it was a long old haul until we kind of got back to
I
normality.
think
But
it was good in the sense that, like, see now, based on everything that happened with COVID, before COVID happened, I would go and do this 7-week tour and go home and go straight into gigging again. Whereas
yeah,
now, but with what I learned during COVID and now being a dad,
yeah,
I go home now and I'll do nothing for a week or 2. I'll take a week or 2 off.
yeah, because you need it. Yeah, and
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
and it's an awful lot of us kind of I think will have found the same. Is that like I never, and you'll have been the same, like you're saying. I, from the age of, we'll say 16, 17, never had a weekend off unless it was unless I was away on holiday, or unless there was a particular reason for it.
Mm,
But like for the vast majority of my early to late 20s, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, non-stop, sometimes on a Thursday, even sometimes maybe on a Wednesday,
yeah,
while doing whatever you were doing Monday to Friday, you're just non-fucking stop. And it didn't occur to you to stop because you were having too much crack. And it
yeah.
wouldn't occur to you to stop. Do you know what I mean? And it's only when you were forced to stop, you realize the importance of taking a handy, and that it's okay to take the foot off the accelerator. Do you know what I mean?
But it's the other side of it as well. It's like, you know, you kind of get to a stage where you go, my thing was oh, no, I need to keep money coming in. I need to keep the wolf away from the door. I need to keep money coming in. Money has to
Yeah,
come in. And then I don't know, is it kind of getting older or just wiser, or I think it's just experience. You kind of get to a stage where maybe you get a bit cuter with your money and you have money put aside for a rainy day, and you go, well,
yeah,
you know what, fuck it, I'm going to take this week off.
yeah.
Because self-employed people don't get paid. You don't get
No,
paid time off.
yeah,
You don't work, you don't get paid.
yeah.
I'm even like I got no paternity leave when my daughter was
No,
born. You know what I mean?
no.
You don't get whereas if you're working a PAYE job, you'll get a week, I think it's week or 2 weeks or something,
Wife
you
too,
get
whatever
paid.
it is. Yeah,
Whereas like
yeah,
I got fucking nothing, and it was like, "Do you know what? I'm just gonna take." I think I took a week off, and
yeah,
then I was like, "I'm only gonna be gone 2." I did cut it back though. I was only
yeah,
doing a gig a night. Like normally in Glasgow, like I could do 2 or 3 gigs in a night.
yeah, yeah,
Whereas like I'm gonna do 1 gig a night, and then if I can do 3 gigs in a week back in Glasgow, that pays all my bills, and there's a little bit of spending money at the end, and I can keep
exactly.
it.
Happy out.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But I definitely think definitely what happened with COVID and just from experience and burning out. I mean, like I think I've experienced burnout twice in my life
yeah,
where I just went to, and I was like, just too much, and I was fucked.
yeah,
And I've definitely learned how to avoid that now. Do you know what I mean?
yeah. Absolutely. It's so. In fairness, now, of all the shite that went on for COVID, and God forbid we'll ever go through that again. Hopefully, Jesus, we'll never have to go through that and like that again. There was an awful lot of a silver lining for us creatives. Thanks be to Jesus, because
Yeah.
it would have been a devil to go through all that now for fucking nothing. But
Oh,
anyway,
definitely.
so what's next for you? So obviously you're flat out now. You're working away with the Irish Celtic, and you're in France, and you're in the middle of a 7-week tour just now, or you're at the start of a 7-week tour, I should say. What's next? What's next for you? And on the horizon, are you going to stick with the Irish Celtic for a while? What do you think?
I'm definitely going to I'm going to start putting an album together this year, 100%. This summer, I said to myself, I'm going to start getting stuff together for an album and releasing them all as singles. Because unfortunately, the day of the album is dead in terms of releasing it the way you normally would now. Just the way with streaming and all that, you have to release everything as singles. But I'm going to start compiling. I have a list of the songs that I want to put on, a mixture of old trad stuff and 1 or 2 originals and some tunes as well that I've written. But that's definitely this year. I want to do that and even get all the demos recorded this year, and then hopefully start recording them all early next year and have it released by the end of the year next year. That's definitely the plan with that in terms of myself. And then it's just, I've a couple of festival gigs now when I go home. I've a few gigs back in Ireland. I'm kept very, very busy with different stuff, as I said, with solo stuff. And then I have a band back home as well, Splendid Isolation, that we do a couple of gigs with. So just, different festival gigs. Look, the bread and butter always will be the pub gigs. I mean, that's, as I said, I know there's a lot of musicians on the scene and stuff in Glasgow and in back home as well in Ireland, but that a lot of them are maybe they think they're kind of too good for the pub gigs and stuff, whereas I'm like, nah, I mean, that's where I cut my teeth. And like, there's this kind of thing with a lot of musicians where it's like, I've seen it, and me and Danny have spoken about it before as well. Like, you get a lot of these musicians that they might look down on a lot of people for doing pub gigs and stuff because to them it's beneath them. But I mean, I'm able to go out and enjoy myself and have a couple of pints with my mates and play music and have the crack. That's the be all and end all is, as long as you're having fun doing it, I don't give a shit what anyone thinks of me. Like, if someone is going to look down on me for doing a pub gig, I don't want to know who that person is.
Exactly. It's more, it completely tells you everything you need to know about them.
So I don't, I think like it's a big thing I've learned as well. Like, just take the gigs.
Yeah.
I mean, take every gig on.
Yeah.
And you'll do an odd gig and you go, I really didn't like that gig, and it might be a certain type of gig.
Yeah.
You go, don't like doing those gigs. Well, then don't do that. Find something else. Like, for me, I do not like playing for weddings, as in for being.
Oh, I'm exactly the same. I fucking hate
being like a main wedding band. Don't like it.
Yeah.
The pressure with it that I just don't like, and people.
Same here.
People kind of talk. People can be arseholes because they're like, well, it's my brides and grooms and all people involved with that. Well, we're paying for the blah blah blah, and if there's an arrogance with it, and I've seen it too much, I just don't like it. Really don't like it. So I avoid them. I had to set my New Year's resolution was that I wasn't going to do any more weddings. That was I don't need to do them. I don't want to do them. And thank God I can be picky like that. There's certain people that don't have that opportunity or that luxury. But I'm good at being like, I love them these gigs, so I'll do more of them. Well, if there's a gig I don't like doing, I just won't do it. But the only reason I know I don't like them is because I've done them. Don't assume that you're not going to like something.
Yeah.
It's a big thing. Just I think for anyone starting out and all that, get out, do every gig you can, play with as many different people as you can. Don't be an arsehole. Don't think you have it sussed, because you fucking don't. And you know what I mean? Just be yourself. And if you're not, if you're playing music or you're involved in music because you think it makes you look good or people think you're cool, give it up.
Exactly.
There's no point in doing it. You'll eventually get found out. Do you know what I mean?
You will eventually get found out. Yeah.
You have to really, really love it. But like, I mean, I love what I do with Irish Celtic. We're well looked after. The band are amazing. The dancers are all brilliant. I have a boss that doesn't. I have a boss who's one of my best mates. We're really well looked after. It's amazing. I'm very lucky to be here. Like, now, look, France is tough to tour in. France is, like places to get food in France, they close between 2 o'clock in the afternoon and 8 o'clock in the evening. So if you don't have, but France is tough.
Okay.
But we do some amazing gigs. I mean, we're doing the Palais de Sport in Paris for Paddy's weekend, which is a big, really big gig. Um, and you know, as you say, it's tough. I mean, this is the first long tour now I'm doing away from my little one.
Yeah,
You know, I done 2 weeks in Germany, and that was kind of tough. And then I done a week in Canada, and that was tough because of the time difference.
yeah, yeah.
Now, and this one will be tough, but you know, she's coming out to visit me with her mother and my partner's parents. They're
Oh,
coming.
lovely.
They're coming out to Paris for Paddy's weekend, so it breaks the tour up a bit. But
Yeah,
you know, for me now, you know, when I used to do these tours, like a lot of them went out last night for a couple of drinks,
yeah,
and I would have always been front and center. But
yeah.
last night I was like, you know what, lads, you know, I'm going to stay in and watch Tommy Fury and Jake Paul have a scrap, and I'm going to go to bed. So I'm now the old man
I
on the
know it's
tour.
funny, isn't it?
I'm now the owl lad that you know just wants to be in bed by 9:30.
I know. It is funny when that happens because you do speak to people about doing all these things, and I was the same when I was speaking to people about like going slew and touring America myself, and it seems like you're exactly the same. Is that there is such a thing as too much of a good thing.
Oh
Do
yeah,
you know what I mean? People who say there's no such there's you can never get too much of a good thing. Well, you absolutely can.
took me a
It's
long,
one
long time, long time to realize I was a fucker for getting FOMO.
yeah. Oh,
Like,
stop!
I would be
Unbelievable.
like, if someone was just opening a packet of crisps, I had to be there. You know, that sort of way.
Yeah,
Like, I was always like that, and it's only in, like I mean, now I might talk about it's only in the last 12 months
yeah,
that that's not has been a big thing for me. Like, I used to say to Julie, my missus, the whole time, like, when my mates back in Ireland, like Mick Buckley and Shawnee, that would be going out, they'd be going off to a gig, to watch a gig together with the women. And
yeah.
I'd see them post something about it, and I'd be I'd be like, "Oh, bastards.
I know.
Oh,
Yeah,
why didn't I go?" You know what I mean? And now,
yeah,
I mean, I have chilled out a lot, and I'm still not 100% with it. Like, I'm still going to go, "Oh, I wish it was there."
yeah,
I'm not raging about it anymore. Like, I'd be FOMO to the point of being raging that I wasn't there. But I've just kind of copped on and realized that, like, as you say, that there absolutely is too much of a good thing. As I said, I would have been always been the lad that would have been having beer every night, having a
yeah,
crack, and you know, wanting to see what the different was going to be, and like, you know, wanting to be the last one to go home because just something
yeah,
can happen. You know what I mean? You want
yeah,
to be the last one up to see if something happens at the end of the night.
uh,
Um, but no, I have eventually copped on to the fact that you know, you can't be at every session, you can't be at every night out, you can't
yeah,
make everything happen. And if you know, I tried, I fucking
yeah.
tried,
So
and
did I. We all have.
I was saying about those few 1 or 2 times where I genuinely experienced burnout was for that reason.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? But once you kind of cop on and you realize it, you kind of do. Your FOMO becomes less of a problem,
yeah,
and you just want your bed at 9:30. I don't know if that's becoming apparent. I think it was starting to happen before she was born, but definitely since she's been born now, I'm quite happy to come home here to the hotel and just FaceTime me little one and see her,
yeah.
even though she doesn't fucking have a clue. You know
No,
what I
I
mean?
know.
But that's just the way it is. I still go out and enjoy me a couple of pints if we're in a nice place and there's a cool bar, 100%. But
Yeah,
not every night of the week. Them
not
days.
every night. No, but you couldn't be doing that. You would burn out, right? With the best will in the world, you know what I mean? You would burn out, and there's yeah, but that's really good. I'd usually ask what would your advice be then at this point, but that's really good advice, and it's quite a common thread with an awful lot of these interviews that I'm doing is that basically just don't be a dick. Make sure you're doing it for the right reasons, and like you can't like don't get into music like you were saying. Don't get into music because you think it's going to make you look cool because people will find you out and people will just think you're an arsehole and you'll not get anywhere at all. So I think that's really good, solid advice to give to anyone.
The other thing I'd add to that, and it's one thing that I've kind of learned over the years is, especially in this industry, be nice to everyone
Yeah,
because you never know who you're talking to.
never know. Yeah,
Like, don't brown nose, but be pleasant and cordial with everyone you meet. Don't fob someone off because they might be a bit annoying or something because you never know who they know. Their fucking brother could be a booking agent for something, or you know, just give everyone a chance.
yeah,
Like, don't like I've seen it before where, and it's happened to me. I've been stung before where I've met people that I really didn't like, and I've told them to, you know, fuck off or something, and
yeah,
I found out that, oh, they book for this or they book for that, and then that's you. You're never getting that gig.
No, not a hope.
You know, it's I always tell a lot of lads, you know, just take the penguins of Madagascar approach, just smile and wave, boys, just smile and wave. But
That's a great one.
you know what I mean? Give everyone a chance. Don't judge a book on its on you know, judge a book by its cover. Give everyone a chance.
Yeah,
Networking is huge. Like talk to everyone. Don't like you know, sometimes, you know, when you be doing big gigs and you know people are gonna come up and they want to tell you that they enjoyed the gig and it is amazing, but then there's times where you might get a bit tired of it and you just want to go away and not talk to anyone.
yeah,
Now and just spend that 10 minutes just being cordial and talking to people. You never know what could come of it.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
absolutely.
Really, you know, be a people person and just don't judge a book by its cover. Give everyone a chance. Now, look, if someone is an absolute red roaring prick,
Yeah.
that's different. But just because you get a vibe about someone, don't you know? Just give them a chance. Give everyone
Yeah,
a chance.
I think we're all guilty of that. You do get to a point where there's only so many times you can be asked for Wonderwall, or you can be asked, "Oh, will you do one more?" And it's like 10 minutes over when you were meant to be playing. There's
Yeah,
only so many times that you can take that, and we're all guilty of it.
yeah,
But it's you do like you say, you need to be humbled every now and then. You need to be taken down a peg or two, because with the best will in the world, it can be, just because of the nature of what it is that we do. It'll run away with you, and you do need to be humbled. But I think that's probably good solid advice, is just to make sure that you stay humble and just stay sound,
yeah,
and just do your best to give everyone the time of day that they would expect, or that they're trying to give you. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Nice one. Tell you what, Ciarán, let's is there anything else that you're working on, or are you happy enough to go into a quick fire round?
I think just keep an eye out. Hopefully, in the next couple of months, we'll hopefully get something going with this album, and we'll go from there. But definitely, hopefully, by the start of next year, the end of this year, we'll have something to talk about then. So keep the eyes peeled.
Good stuff. And can we see the Irish Celtic show coming to the UK at any time?
Not that I'm aware of, but we're all over France and Germany. We're in Portugal in May. I think we're going back to
Sound.
Canada again next year. We're going to be in Montreal, Quebec City, Vancouver, and I think Toronto as well. So
Sound.
you'll find all that online, but we're kind of all over the place. So it's great.
Good stuff. I tell you what, let's go into a quick fire round. These are just a couple of questions just to break the ice at the end,
Right.
because why not? These are would you rather questions, and I'm going to try and use ones that I've not used before, just to see just to see if people don't get a good idea of what makes you tick already. Let's see if we can figure out what makes you actually tick. So, question one: would you rather be able to talk to animals or speak every human language fluently?
Oh, of human language. I speak to enough animals on a daily basis anyway. No, I always say, see, touring the world, like,
Yeah,
well, we go to Germany and stuff, and like, I always remember my old lad saying to me when I was in secondary school, I'd done German for my junior cert. He says, "You better fucking keep that on for your leaving cert. You never know when it'll come in handy." And I was like, "No, don't fuck German."
yeah,
I didn't want to do a language because I just couldn't be arsed.
yeah.
He was fucking right, and I hate telling the old lad he was right, but he was like, I would love to have kept German on. You know, like I see Robbie Gregg here, who's the fiddle player on this tour. Robbie's mother is German,
Right.
um, so he speaks fluent German, and then he speaks English, and he speaks Scots Gaelic as well. Like Robbie flicks in and out, and I think it's the coolest thing ever.
Class.
Love to be able to speak loads of languages.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Would you rather never be able to use the internet again, or never be able to watch TV again?
TV.
Yeah, I think an awful lot of people would say TV. TV, I literally just cancelled Sky there before Christmas, because I don't watch anything past the first two pages.
Yeah, I don't know. I think well, so that's kind of a cop out because Netflix is online, so do you know what I mean?
I suppose, actually, yeah.
But no, I haven't watched, like, barring the news, but you get the news and that on your phone now. Television's kinda gone to the shite now, I think.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, yeah. No, I'd be with you on that. We wouldn't really get very far. Well, definitely hearing from what you've said for the past little while, you wouldn't have gotten very, very far without the ability to email or network online and all that kind of crack. So, yeah. Right. Would you, Jesus, hang on, let me say that again. Would you rather never be able to eat your favorite food again, or have to eat it every day for the rest of your life?
I think we spoke about this in the bus before. Um, I'd rather not eat my favorite meal because, like, you would get sick of it fairly quick. I mean, It's
Too
like,
much of a good thing.
I mean, it's too much of a good thing. Once again, back to that. I mean, we see it here. Like there's music that plays kind of as the crowd is coming into the venues for this tour,
Yeah.
and the music is brilliant and it's really good. But we all fucking hate hearing it now because we hear it so much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
Yoga and Damien O'Kane and all this, and like actually the Liam Bradley, the piano player from Bioga, is actually rooming with me on this tour. He's playing
Right.
piano on this. But it's like Bioga and Damien O'Kane and all these brilliant bands, and the music is brilliant. But when you hear it every day,
Sick to death
multiple
of it.
times for 7 weeks, by the end of it, you're like, oh, I don't want to hear
Yeah. That's plenty now. That's plenty.
it.
Yeah. Fair enough. Grand. Last one. Would you rather live in a world where you are the only person, or live in a world where there are other people, but you're invisible?
Oh, I'd get sick of myself too quickly. Yeah, I'd piss myself off. So I'm
You'd have
definitely.
nothing to do.
I don't. I'm one of these people. I'm useless. It's something that I've had to get better at. I'm very bad in my own company.
Right.
As in, I don't know what it is. I don't like it. I really don't like being on my own for too long.
Oh,
Like,
bless you.
yeah, I know I don't know what it is. I've always had this thing where I've I've always tried to get better with it. Like, I always feel the need to be in company of other people. I don't know what it is. I never
Homo.
figured it out. But I just like even like I don't like eating on my own. Like I'd rather starve and wait for someone else to want to go to have dinner.
All
Then
right.
yeah. I'm a bit of a fucking weirdo like that. I think I'm too much of a people person.
Yeah.
And I just kind of, if I was on my own for too long, I think I'd go mad. So
Right.
I do like to be around people, definitely. Now, don't get me wrong, I do like to have a little bit of time on my own, and but not too much.
No, not too much. So you're going to live in a world where you're invisible. You'd have some crack, like.
Oh yeah, you just get up to all
You'd have
sorts
some
of
crack.
shit.
Like I'm assuming with this, like it's my question, so I can set the parameters of it. You can still like talk and interact with people. They just can't see you. So you'd have some crack. You could like go around in the nip and talk to people, and they'd know you're in the nip because they can't see the shirt and stuff like floating in midair and
Yeah,
stuff. Or you could just go around with just like a hat floating, and people would know that you're in the nip,
yeah.
bar a hat and stuff like that. So fair enough. Good stuff. Right, Ciarán, real quick before I let you go, where can people find you online should they want to book you for a private house party in Philadelphia?
You can ring Derek Warfield for that one. You can get us on Facebook, Ciarán Cooney Music. You can get me on Instagram at Ciarán Cooney Music. You can email me at redcooney95@gmail.com. Send a carrier pigeon to Glasgow and tell them to find me. You'll find me somewhere.
They'll find you.
Or yeah, probably people
Very
hear
good.
me before they see me as well. So just keep an ear out.
No bother. Right, listen, Ciarán, you're an absolute gent. Thanks very much for coming on today.
Cheers, Barry. Thanks a million much.
That was the Music Career Show. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and tell your friends about the Music Career Show.